Go the video.
I ask you about next. This is going to be the most obvious statement I'm going to make tonight. The last 18 months have seen significant turmoil, not only with COVID, but with our social, our cultural upheavals, as we've seen people, protesting some just horrible, egregious acts. As you noted, the future of work, how we work, all those things are out there for discussion. Trust in institutions, and trust or an understanding, as Ben said, of literally the basis of our society. I saw a great quote. I mean, we've had the 1619 Project, we've had the book called 1620, 1776 Commission, all of them designed to push back on that. I saw a great quote from a noted political scientist who said, America is not a lie, but a disappointment because it is a hope. Would you agree that that's a good description? And would you also agree that the U.S. is an exceptional country? Ben, I'll start with you.
I mean, I obviously believe that the United States is an exceptional country. I think that our history is filled with moments of glory. It's also filled with some terrible tragedy and some terrible evil. There's no question about any of that. To suggest that America is a disappointment is to suggest that utopia is a real place, or that whenever you say somebody's a disappointment, you have to say compared to what? What exactly are you shooting for? Compared to the ideal, of course, everybody's a disappointment. Saints are disappointments compared to the ideal. But if what you're talking about is America as a whole is somehow disappointing compared to, for example, what other countries around the world stand for, or what they have provided to their citizens, or what they have provided to the globe, then by no means is America a disappointment. America is a tremendous success story. In fact, it's the greatest success story in world history.
So, again, concise, precise, right on the money. Ben Shapiro laid it out. Of course, that's the first thing. What you hear from a lot of leftists, what you hear from a lot of progressive, a lot of moderates, academia, the hypocrites in Hollywood, the alphabet networks, the lamestream media, right? The first thing you hear is either, number one, yeah, American exceptional, but, or you hear, no, it's not an exceptional country. And I'll tell you why. And then you ask them and say, well, what are some other countries? And then they sit around and they think about it. And then they always go to like Denmark or Sweden or Norway or the Norwegian countries. They always go over there or something like that, right? Ben just laid it out that, yes, we have done great things in this country, phenomenal things that other countries could never do, will never do. It'll never happen. And yes, just like anything else, we do have our dark pages in history. But we corrected those pages. We came out of the dark into the light. That's where we are right now. But people, what they'd like to do, especially those on the left, progressives, right? Leftists, socialists, Marxists, they want to go back to that. They want to lay the sins of the past on the present people, on our children, on ourselves, as if we had anything to do with that. The biggest thing is, they throw out slavery. We all know slavery was an abomination, an unbelievable evil, right? We all know that. But these guys, the race baiters, the race traitors, they continue to shove it right down our throats every single time they can get. All Ben did was basically say, this America is the most exceptional country in the history of the world, will always be the most exceptional country in the world, and it will continue to be the most exceptional country in the world because it has the greatest people that have ever been in the history of the world, and everybody around the world wants to come to the United States of America. Let's see what our female fatale, the blonde bombshell, Ana Kasparian, has to say about all this.
So there are parts of that I agree with, some parts that I disagree with. For the most part,
I just have to stop. See? Right then and there. So it wasn't like, yes, America is the greatest country in the history of the world. But right away, there are some parts that I disagree with. There are some parts that I agree with. All right, let's go. Called it.
I just want to note that the idea of America is an incredible idea. I think that the country has failed to live up to its ideals. I think that There are certain things that are transpiring as we speak that
Typical.
go unchecked. We are supposed to have a system of checks and balances, but I think more often than not, we see a system that is in fact rigged in favor of the powerful. I'll give you specific examples. In the beginning of the pandemic, there were lawmakers in the Senate who engaged in this minimalizing, just completely minimizing the severity of the pandemic, to the point where I actually didn't think that COVID was a serious threat to me, my health, my family's health. In fact, in February, I went on a cruise with my in-laws and had a great time and didn't think that COVID was going to be an issue. Then I find out, of course, a month later, everything starts shutting down. People I know get incredibly sick. And then news reports come out in regard to members of the Senate who had a classified briefing, closed-door briefing on the severity of COVID, and immediately turned around and started selling their stocks. They started buying tech stocks, realizing that people are likely to work home, so they might need to invest in technology or companies that offer technologies that make that possible. Basically, there's insider trading happening within the Senate. And I'm saying it out loud, and I'm saying it on a regular basis because that kind of activity, that type of behavior, first of all, is illegal for the average American, should not be legal for members of the Senate. The fact that we have lawmakers who are personally invested in businesses that they're deciding legislation on is unacceptable. So when you talk about the lack of trust in our institutions, I understand that lack of trust. And that lack of trust has led to the situation that we're experiencing today with COVID, where people don't believe in what the CDC is telling them, where people question what journalists are reporting about. They just assume, because of the lies that have been told, because of the system being rigged against them, they just assume that they're being lied to. And now we find ourselves in this difficult position where we're trying to find solutions. We're trying to come together so we combat COVID effectively.
Okay, let me just stop right here for a minute. Again, as we talked about, right? America, but. The question was, is America, in your opinion, an exceptional country? And so she starts with that, but, and then she goes into, it's a rigged system. You know what? People don't believe the government. People don't do this. People don't do that. And one thing I do agree with Ana in terms of what she's saying is that, you know what? There is a 2, 3, 4-tiered system here. You've got the elites. You're powerful, the wealthy, the people in government, right? Academic, you've got that group of people, and a lot of times they do get away with a lot of things that the average, normal, everyday American citizen would not get away in. And she cites a good example. I don't think it has anything to do with the question, is America an exceptional country? But in terms of what she was talking about, absolutely. People in the Senate, people in Congress, the president, obviously, anybody that has a means and opportunity to hear about laws and policy that you're passing and what it's going to do to affect one part of let's say business, or it's going to an industry or whatever, or a sector. You should not be able to trade using that information. So I agree with that. That's a different power dynamic. All right. Then she's talking about why we don't believe the CDC, why we don't believe the government. Well, Anna, could it be because of the lies that they perpetuated? Could it be that, for example, the way that Fauci talked about, giving us 50 different answers, lying about where COVID-19 started, lying about the Wuhan lab, lying about where the virus originally, came from, not giving us proper information, masked, not masked, not in terms of ivermectin, in terms of hydroxychloroquine, in terms of all of these things. The CDC lying about, in terms of the number of deaths that were occurring in nursing homes, what happened in Pennsylvania, in New York, in a lot of blue states, all of these things. Could that be a reason? I'm just basically shooting this thing back at her answer because she didn't answer the question, which really was, what makes America exceptional? talk about the exception. You're going to talk about what we did okay in World War II, what we did, for the world. Where when people cry out for help, it's the United States of America that goes there. What are we doing for Ukraine right now? What are we doing for any other countries that are out there? We give the most, $500 million in charity. No other country even comes close to that. Hardworking, persevering, God-fearing, for the most part, okay? Anyway, those are the things that we're talking about, right? She was way off the mark. Let's continue with her answer.
Get people back to work so people can thrive, families can thrive, but that's incredibly difficult to do when people don't trust in our institutions.
So earlier this evening, three of us had some.
So basically, I think I pretty much said that thing. The question was, in your opinion, what makes America great? Ben hit it real quick, real concise. Ana came in, gave the usual, progressive, moderate, leftist, Marxist, socialist answer. Yeah, America, well, I don't know, maybe, perhaps, yeah, it is, but, and then went into a diatribe, which I've already talked about. So, this round again, Ben wins this one. In part one, Ben won. Part two, Ben won. So far, Ben 2, Ana 0. Anyways, folks, thanks for watching the show. We appreciate it a lot. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, follow us, put down the comments. Do you agree Ben won? Do you think Ana won? Do you think she made some good points? Give us your comments. Let us know what you think. You're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. We appreciate you so much. I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.